This was a really fascinating program. The conception of dance and music, you know, long history, composers write pieces, they exist, choreographers get the pieces, they make dances to them. That's not exactly what you're doing here.
The basic idea for this was to, you know, examine the relationship of musician and dancer on stage together, and to try to pool insight on this from many wonderful artists. So I talked to choreographers first about this, saying, you know, I wanted it to be a collaborative process, both in terms of choreographer-composer and also dancer-musician, but that would mean whatever it meant for you.
Congratulations to everyone on the stage. It's an extraordinary night. It is something that's very unique, which is hard to do in the city. You know, there's something new every 5 seconds. But what is it about this project in particular that, as a dancer and choreographer, made you say, yes, I want to do that?
It was kind of making a bigger relationship between the musician and dancer. I feel like this became less of a solo and more of a duet.
For me, what excited me about the project was the intimacy of it, working one-on-one with the choreographer. I'm very much so married to the process. So the performance is great, it's fun, and you get the adrenaline rush, but for me the process is very interesting. So for me it was an opportunity to delve deeper into my own process, find my own artistry.
I think it was just a great opportunity to showcase our dancers and to just really see everybody move in a way that I haven't seen them move yet. Like, it's really interesting.
Well, for me, I think it was really the prospect of this collaborative process. As we discovered, as Jonathan and I sort of started to create this, our ideas started to sort of shift and change and alter a bit. But the fact that we were able to sort of cook this piece together at the same time, simultaneously, it really was a special thing for me.
Do you think this experience will change how you work in general, or is it particular to this now?
I think I think that just because it was a solo work, it was a lot easier, and so it took a lot less time to create. I think that this is the ideal way of working because it really is very profound, the thing that you make in the end, because it comes from all these sides.
Yeah, I mean, one might assume that if there weren't the usual constraints of money and time, that more big works would be made in this way, and that there would be so many more creative sparks that would be allowed to happen, and more changes to the disciplines. In the beginning stages of developing your project, where did the nucleus of the idea come from, and how much music was produced, or how much dance was produced first? Like, how did you work?
Sean gave me a little bit of a track that was kind of like an insight into what the score might sound like, but made on a computer. And it sounded absolutely nothing like what it actually sounded once it was played live. So, but we worked with that, developed a movement phrase, and then as soon as Adrian came in and started playing it live, it changed absolutely everything. Every element of our piece was very collaborative, right down to naming the title, and it was very much like he would give some music, I would have movement, he would come and watch, and it just kept going back and forth, which I've never had.
And I have to say, it was very great to see humor. That's so rare these days, so bravo to you for that.
Thank you. I was going to comment on that because I think usually my music is so deadly serious. That's definitely something that Joshua brought to the collaboration. So I really appreciated that. I'm used to working very much in the way that Mary did, where it's the delivery model. And so it was a bit scary for me, but ultimately very exciting to work in this more back and forth way.
I was very struck by that piece because, first of all, it was just beautifully rendered, but that was pretty scary for that violinist.
That was the first. I was really wondering, right away I had a few ideas like what we could do together, but I was wondering if it would be possible. And after the first rehearsal, I realized, yes, it was good. We were a little scared that she'd say, I'll have to stop doing this work. So, but she didn't.
For you to have to continue to play, not drop your instrument, how scary was that as a musician?
It was terrifying.
And you didn't look terrified at all. It was amazing.
Well, I definitely poked Megan where she so many times in rehearsals, just like, yeah, we collided many times. But the lift, we just broke it down first without the instrument.
Well, it was dazzling and beautiful.
Around the time that Jonathan asked me to join this project, the composer that I'm working with decided to move to Rwanda. So at first we thought, okay, maybe we shouldn't do this, because how can we collaborate? But then it's 2016, we all have Skype, and it turns out that I actually communicated more and better with my composer in Rwanda than with most of my friends here in New York. So yeah, then I chose the violin because in my own company, I use piano and violin always, so I had in the back of my mind I would bring that piece at some point into my repertoire. My violinist sits up there, he's frightened now. Because among the things that, there's lots of new music ensembles, great new music ensembles in New York, but Periapsis definitely has the most fearless string players. Yes.
Okay, there's a challenge. There was the dragging on the leg that just like pulled down into, where did the idea for this all come, and which ideas came first?
Sure. Well, the programmatic idea for the piece came first. Many years ago, my father had a stroke that left him partially paralyzed, and you could just see the tension between his thought and his actual physical capability. So this piece is sort of a snapshot of what just a few moments could look or even internally sound like for someone who has limited movement. So that's the idea that I pitched to Helen, and I gave her the freedom to totally ditch the narrative, but she decided to stick with it, and it was just beautiful. I've told Jonathan this so many times, it's so nice to come into the first rehearsal of the piece and to just, like, it's all together.
That wasn't the first rehearsal, that was the first rehearsal.
First rehearsal I saw, yeah.
What I loved in the first piece was the dancer's motion that the choreographer had of playing the Tibetan bowl, but not when the bowls were playing. So it was sort of like a memory of that, and it evoked the sound, and that was just so artfully done.
I think he's been very preoccupied with journey and transformation, and I think that one of the things that he wanted to deal with was the relationship between where you start and where you end, and a lot of the phrase work actually is from repertory that he created in the late 90s and then also more recently. So we kind of combined all of those things, and he made a new piece for Aaron and Sarah, and I think it was his way of speaking an old language in a new way.
The ending was just really an extraordinary exchange because, we've had the musicians moving, but to actually have the dancer making the music.
We were extremely lucky that Michaela actually took some piano lessons in her youth and was able to play this. And in a way, I feel like that's exactly the point of this whole thing is, what Periapsis does, and how it can be really so interchangeable in many ways. And so this was sort of like the exact point, and the fact that it ends this way was really special for me, and that we were able to do this. So
this is a big deal. I'm feeling like this is something really special, and I don't know if you can, but if you can kind of sum up what it means to have this vote of confidence from choreographers, composers, dancers, kind of backing you as you move forward into this fourth year.
And what I discovered really is just that this process was a novelty for people. Our guests have tremendous experience and have done enormous projects, and yet the idea of doing this with sort of, very intimate working conditions with one dancer and one musician who will be there and one composer as part of the process really is quite rare. It was nice to just realize that, we're offering something unusual to people with this, to artists with this tremendous experience as well. So that was lovely.
So this is really extraordinary. So congratulations to you for being part of this, and to you for continuing this for 4 years. It's really wonderful.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. Thank you to all the artists.